Hello and namaste. Welcome to Urban Chatterati. This is Abhinav Prakash. And today I'm joined by Arvind Gupta, who is the founder and head of Digital India Foundation, who is also the professor of data and digital economics. He's the ex-CEO of MyGov under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and he also led the BJP's digital outreach and the IT department for 7 years, and he's the one who built the entire infrastructure you see today. So Arvindji, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Abhinav, Professor Abhinav, for having me. Namaskar to you and all your audience, and please stay safe. I always start up my show by saying I am not wearing a mask because I'm inside an isolated room. Please keep wearing your mask, sanitizing, and maintaining social distance.
Thank you. And thank you for giving us time, Arvindji. So let's start by coming to the point directly. What exactly are these new rules under the IT Act, which has sparked off this big war between the big tech companies and the Indian government?
Okay, so Abhinav, I think let me first say India was one of the first few countries to have an IT law. So now many countries have it, but we were one of the earlier ones. That also means it has been there for 21 years. Our IT Act is about 2000, 2001 vintage. The last it was changed was 2008. And that's where this whole concept of intermediaries, was introduced, because suddenly we saw a new category. Now you imagine 13 years hence, the digital world is definitely not the same. I mean, you didn't have WhatsApp 13 years ago. You didn't probably have the kind of Ubers and other e-commerce platforms 13 years ago. Amazon probably existed, and that's about it. And so did initial phases of Facebook and Twitter. But India had maybe about, at that point in time, about 25, 30 million internet users. Today, what are we? We are about 750 million internet users. It's a different world. India contributes the number one user base to most of these platforms. We are the world's biggest free digital economy. The other one is China, which we are rather not talk about. So, we needed some certain new changes. Now, let me bring clarity, because you did mention my MyGov role before in my introduction. MyGov is the world's biggest citizen engagement platform, which means we debate policies, we take views from citizens, stakeholders, all throughout. You've been part of some of that. And what happens is that this new rules, which are subordinate legislation of within the IT Act, have been deliberated for over 3 years now. And it's only after deliberations from Indian companies, overseas companies, civil rights activists, consumers like you and me, and administrators, that the government and India really has come up with these new rules. And what do the new rules do? The new rules, very simply put, are saying that we need social media platforms and intermediaries to be more accountable if they want to maintain their status as intermediaries. If they want to keep having what is called the safe harbor, they need to provide a two-way street to the consumers. If I have a grievance, today I don't even know who to reach out to. Most of these intermediaries, which do what are intermediaries? You tweet, it's your tweet, I see it if I follow you. The platform just is an intermediary. It has no role in your tweet. And we can come to why the platforms are suddenly playing. Platforms like Twitter definitely are playing the judge and the jury and the executioner, and that is what is troublesome. But more so, if I put a video on YouTube, unless it violates any other YouTube policy, it's my content. YouTube is a platform. It monetizes it by selling it to advertisers. I get some share of the revenue, and that's how it works. So that's an intermediary. If that content is found to be offensive, that video is found to be sensitive, or whatever that sensitivity is defined by the within that framework, another consumer has a right to object to it. But the creator also has the right to defend. Today we see sometimes one-sided takedowns, and that is why this whole concept of grievance officer, compliance officer, nodal officer, and a few other compliances Plus, the last one, which I know will come in the discussion, this whole concept of origination of content, which definitely the messenger applications like WhatsApp are protesting against, specifically WhatsApp, is a requirement within from the Supreme Court, which was debated in the Rajya Sabha. The minister, the current minister, who was also the minister then in 2018 August, assured the parliament that they will look into it. Since then, we have asked WhatsApp to give us some mechanism to be able to trace the origin of messages. Now, what has happened? Why this standoff? Abhinav, you are a professor. I also teach a class. I'm adjunct, you are full-time. You give students a question paper. The students have a time limit to answer that. They don't wait till the last moment and say, sir, we couldn't understand any question, we don't know anything, and we just raise our hands and give you a blank paper. Not even give you a blank paper. They actually walk over. This is what these companies have done. If they had a problem with one of the 10 clauses or one of the 20 clauses, requirements of the rules, they should have complied by the 19. What they have done is shown open defiance. They have not even responded back. And they have either responded via media or by courts. And to me, that is a cartelization. It's a new digital East India company, which is trying to tell India, it's our rules. You follow it, India. And as if India is dependent on them. As a country, we cannot let our rules be dictated by somebody else. Yes, rules are here. If something is wrong, let's debate them. There is a forum to do that. But a foreign company cannot unilaterally decide this is not correct. Even though that's been done after so much of deliberations and engagement and participative process. So that's the crux of it. The hypocrisy of this is, Abhinav, is that companies like WhatsApp are trying to portray themselves as champions of privacy. Now, you and me know WhatsApp is free to users. Are they doing charity? Of course not. They are owned by a public company called Facebook, which is the world's biggest data gathering company in the world. That's how they make money. And they violate our privacy left, right, and center. And the biggest hypocritical statement I could hear, WhatsApp saying, we believe in privacy. When few months down, before they were actually trying to make us accept their terms of service, new terms of service, in a very, very unilateral manner. Yeah. Similarly, Twitter trying to teach India, not the government, India, freedom of expression, when they have, the world's oldest democracy, they have banned the president, the current, the then president, and in India they have not followed any requests from the government and have done one-sided enforcement of their policies and disregarded India's sovereignty. Shown wrong maps of India, shown pro-Khalistan tweets and advertisements actually. So that means they've taken revenue, blood money, and they are coming back and telling us about freedom of expression to the world's largest democracy. I find that laughable.
Yeah, it's actually funny. The China is concerned about the free trade. WhatsApp is concerned about privacy. Twitter is concerned about expression.
Absolutely.
And Kejriwal is concerned about vaccination in Delhi. So it's a dystopian year we are living in. But but coming to the Twitter and WhatsApp, let's separate the two because two are different issues at hand. So let's start with the WhatsApp. The main sticking point is the concern for the privacy. The WhatsApp is saying we cannot comply with the rules which will force them to, share the data, as you say, the origin of the content with the, let's say, the police or the government. How true is the claim of the WhatsApp?
Well, WhatsApp probably, let me first start by saying Indian users are probably the highest users in the world of WhatsApp, more than 500 million, 50 crore plus. The joke on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley is when India says good morning, WhatsApp goes down. Now, nobody's interested in WhatsApp good morning messages. Where is the request of the government, which is part of the reasonable restrictions in the right to privacy? Number one, foreign relationships, public disorder, child sex, child abuse, pornography which involves children. Those are and safety and sovereignty of the nation. Those are of concerns. Now, when that is of concern, and those messages, the government figures out that there is a potentially, let's say, a harmful message being circulated, which is going to create riot-like situation, and the government finds it out. I think the government, the law enforcement agency, under absolutely lawful orders, are well within the right to say, WhatsApp, please tell us, where has this originated? Abhinav Prakash and Arvind Gupta have just exchanged that, a Zoom link where you wanted me to come on your show, which I am doing right now. I don't think so. The government is interested in doing that. So when they say it's a breach of privacy, it's not. Our call data records, let me just give an analogy. Our call data records are all stored by telecom companies. Who called whom? Millions, billions of them must be. India has 1.3 billion telecom users. Everybody calls so many people every day. There are billions of records being created. They get created. If there is a need by the law enforcement agency, they get shared. Otherwise, they get destroyed. And there is a process. I think the engagement by WhatsApp should have been, what process can we follow? What technical, architecture can we follow? This is what we can do now. This is what we can do in the future. Build trust. But as I said, you answer 19 questions and say this 20th, we can do a little bit here. We can do this. This is how we can work together. They've chosen not to do that. And that is not how you build trust.
Yeah, so basically they're playing, they're beating around the bush. So they waited for the time period to get over. Then they went to the court at the last moment. So my question is, if they went to the court on the last day when the deadline was approaching, then why couldn't the government simply ban the WhatsApp till the matter was sub judice? Why is the government not acting in a way?
I don't think so. I don't think so. The intent of the Indian government is to ban it. See, and that's the minister has also very, very clearly said.
No, when WhatsApp is playing these games to you, why can't the government also talk to them in the language they understand?
Well, see, you have to understand, WhatsApp is a private entity. They have right to their own legal recourse. The government of India has to work within its own boundaries and methods. Just because Section 79, these rules are followed or not followed, does not mean you can ban any of this stuff. Basically, they lose the safe harbor. They actually lose the safe harbor. So if suppose somebody complains when they are not in the safe harbor protection, then WhatsApp can be liable, which is what Section 79 provided them, a protection of safe harbor. It is not a banning or not banning. I want to clarify this to you. There is no, if you don't follow the rules, you get banned. That's not the case. The case is whether if you follow the rules, you get protection as an intermediary, as a safe harbor. If you don't follow the rules, you are liable for many things, civil, criminal, many things possible, and that is what they're opening themselves up to.
And coming to the Twitter, we have seen that Twitter has been behaving in a manner as if it's on a new Weitzman, is the new champion or the new the missionary of the Weitzman burden, trying to civilize India by teaching India the freedom of expression and also the rule of law. So what's the issue with the Twitter out
rule of law to they don't follow? How can they teach India the rule of law? They don't follow that. They have their own rules and policies. It's the Twitter is bigger than the Indian rules and policies. That's what their approach always has been. Yes. My limited contention, Abhinav, on this is that I don't think so any of the platforms is bigger than the Indian establishment, India as a country. I speak for India. And I think, as I said, anything that empowers the citizens of India, we should all back it up bipartisanly. And this has been bipartisan suggested by the Rajya Sabha committee, which had people from, MPs from all sorts of parties, including Mr. Jairam Ramesh from the Congress. So, I think, it's very clear that we want a robust mechanism. And of course, the government has always been open for engagement, right? I mean, as I said, if you don't understand a question in the exam, you go to the invigilator and say, sir, ma'am, can I understand this question better? I keep giving you an exam analogy because you and me both write papers and students answer those papers, right? So, you don't wait and deadline to be over and say, I did not understand this question. That's why I tore the paper away and I didn't answer any other question. Mm-hmm. So that's what Twitter is doing.
Yeah, but there are consequences for such behavior if you're a student and you do such thing. So what are the consequences for the Twitter?
Consequences, as I said, is they lose the protection under safe harbor. They actually, as of right now, or maybe because there's some of the matters could be sub judice, but as of right now, technically, if the rules government has asked for compliance from all the platforms, the day the government says the deadlines are over, unless it extends it, platforms which are not in compliance will lose their protection under safe harbor. Mm-hmm. And if you get grieved by Twitter in whatever way it may be, you suddenly, under the Indian IT Act, Indian IT law, can take Twitter to court.
But coming to the wider question, it's not just about Twitter or the WhatsApp.
Absolutely. The wider question is very important. What you said, everybody's trying to teach India. I think there is a big tech cartelization of it. Suddenly they feel that, because of our pandemic situation, India is on a back foot and let's go and attack India. It's a big tech cartelization that is happening. And, I've seen a few statements coming from Facebook and Google that they will comply. Google has said that, and that's a welcome statement. But I see none of them have actually done that so far. So it's a big tech cartelization. As a country, we should stand firm, avoid this digital colonization. They've done this in the past when we wanted data localization for payments and fintech companies. We resisted, we conquered, and I think we will again do the same. Whatever is a reasonable. I shouldn't say the giveaways or trade-offs or things that we have to agree upon and disagreements that we have to agree upon. Government is always open, but threatening the government with legal things or a media war is not going to get anybody in.
Yeah, but you talked about data colonization. You talked about these companies gaining too much of power over the public opinion and the political discourse in the country. So my question to you is that, are there real consequences which have already happened because of these companies? Like the farmers' protest was one of them. We saw that the Twitter openly allowed the accounts opened in the Pakistan to run propaganda in India. But beyond that, are there really some consequences which we must take notice of?
Well, you have to understand today, given the new digital world that we live in, these platforms, whatever the platforms, have become an integral part of our narrative setting, our discourse, our communication. They need to be made fair. You know the concept, Abhinav, of net neutrality, the neutrality of the internet, the connection pipe. It has three concepts on it, and I've been saying this for 6 years now. And one discussion I was with one of the heads of Twitter in BBC, and I'll quote that. You have net neutrality, which basically means what? Net neutrality is that internet will not discriminate between access, speed, and cost. It means what you can access, what speed two applications get from your computer will be the same, and the cost. It can't be that X is cheaper and Y is more expensive. Okay. I add the fourth one to it. There should be content neutrality. Now, that's not a net neutrality concept. It's more platform neutrality. Platforms have to be neutral. And I think we are headed towards that we will come up with more rules and guidelines on neutrality of content as well as platform neutrality. Platform neutrality is even a bigger generic term. So if you see a product on Amazon or on Google, two products should have the same visibility vis-a-vis, how they're visible to a consumer. That's platform neutrality. Similarly, within the subsection of platform neutrality is content neutrality. They cannot throttle content. Imagine Facebook and Twitter on the day of elections, if that's your mainstream of communication, decide that, I don't like XYZ, I don't like this person's page. Either suspend it or throttle it. Suspension is the worst, but throttling is very much possible. What is throttling? That nobody sees it actually. You think you're seeing it, but nobody sees it. And that is, we've heard complaints of that many times in the past, that the visibility of tweets, the visibility of Facebook posts goes down. Now that throttling is very, very dangerous. So there has to be there has to be a more robust mechanism. This is just the first step in a direction of intermediaries, but I think an overall digital charter that India wants to see, this platform neutrality and content neutrality will have to be brought about.
But doesn't it violate the right of the private companies? Let's say, how can you force Amazon to show different products on equal footing? Is the decision of the Amazon as a private company to do what they want to do on their platform. So how do you balance the rights of the private company, free market, and the regulation?
Absolutely. I think there is, today Google also, when it does a search, it actually says these are full sponsored products, and then there is an algorithm that they use it. They don't disclose how their algorithm works. Nobody wants it. But there is fairness, there is transparency in a little bit that you think that what Google is showing is based on certain rules and methods. If you disclose it, that you are not a neutral platform, you will only disclose advertisements, you're a classified platform, then that's fine. I mean, you need to disclose that. Nobody's forcing that a newspaper ad, you can't, you pay money, you get a bigger, better space. Right? I mean, in a newspaper, same thing you do. You say that I am, the discovery that happens on my platform is paid for. And if you pay me more, I'll make you discover higher. But you can't say everybody has equal chance, but then I decide who gets discovered better. It's a question of disclosure, Abhinav. What you're saying is fine, absolutely fine. I mean, nobody can force how you do your business. Right? If I'm a shopkeeper, I decide how I stack up my products.
Yep.
But I don't say that I'm new, and I have a right to tell you that. Generally the shopkeepers will push where they get better commissions, right? But nobody. They also don't claim that they are neutral and they have every product and everybody is fair to them, right? And that is
the champion of the democracy and liberty and equality.
Yes. So it's a question of what you are asking is a very deep question. It's a question of disclosure. And if you disclose that, that's fine. I mean, that's, Twitter, for example, to give its credit, if it has a paid tweet, it does say promoted. Now imagine it doesn't say promoted and everything that you see is actually decided by Twitter's algorithm, which is paid for, right? I mean, so that could be their business model, but then they have to disclose that.
Yes, agreed. But coming to our big neighbor in the north, China, from the Great Wall of China to the Great Firewall of China, the Chinese leadership, ruling class has always been ahead of the curve when it comes to such issues. Do you think China's decision to simply not allow Facebook, Twitter, Google, anyone inside China was a wise decision in the hindsight?
Let me say it this way, and I'm a very big believer in India's open and free internet. India is not China. India is a democracy. We will work with our rules. We'll open our internet. We'll keep our internet open. We'll allow everybody, but with certain protection to our consumers and certain rules to be followed. Having rules, a rules-based society, does not mean we are not for open and free internet, and we should not emulate China.
But we have not been, but we should perhaps copy China in one thing, to create the homegrown social media platforms and homegrown big tech companies. Why we have
that's not I would agree with you, Abhinav. I don't say that's a Chinese theory. We do want our own solve for India solutions and that which are applicable to the world. And I think what we have seen in the last 10 months where the Chinese apps have been banned in India, there's a lot of these homegrown solutions. India has been, since the start of Startup India, India has been home to the highest number of unicorns. I think 22 unicorns in this year itself. I mean, and the year is not even half completed. So, India has the mentorship, the money, the mindset now to create a lot of homegrown applications. We have the space also. We have the consumer base. So I don't see a reason that we cannot do it. We will definitely do it.
Yeah. So what is the way forward? My last question is that what is the way forward on two counts? You work in the field of technology and digital field. What is the way forward to build this capacity in India? And second thing, what is the way forward for the government now to bring in more regulations?
Well, I think number one, we need to rethink our digital charter. it's too complex. The digital world is getting too complex. Next year, India holds the chair of the G20. Probably the appropriate moment to announce our digital charter to the world, because the world looks up to India. I've said this many times. Today, the biggest creators of the digital economy are private companies from the US. But India is the only country in the world which has digital platforms as public goods. Take the example of UPI, Aadhaar, this whole jam trinity, DigiLockers. These are all public goods, available to everybody at equal footing. Now, when we can do that, the world looks up to us. The world looks up to us. So, but we need to now redefine our digital charter, which is more comprehensive, and then have line-based. How do you regulate e-commerce? How do you regulate transport, fintech, health, agriculture, and things like that. So we have to rethink our digital charter. Number one, two. As we go forward, we have to show this leadership to the world. And three, I think the homegrown atmosphere, I have not seen that kind of exuberance and that kind of money coming into India. The amount of venture capital that we are seeing being pushed into India, into startups, is an all-time high. We have crossed the 2018-19 highs in again, as I say, 5 months. I mean, you've seen, even though last year was mostly lockdown, I mean, now we have 2 months kind of a lockdown, but even within the lockdown, we've seen more unicorns being created. So I think this is the start and maturing of India's startups and technology world, something that the world will see as an equal power in a few years to come.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a long journey. It's a long journey for India to become, a properly digitally self-dependent country for digital freedom and equality. But thank you, sir, for talking to us and giving us a new perspective, especially the content neutrality, and also this point that India can do these things without being China, because you see many people are now appreciating China for not allowing these companies to enter their country in the first place. But thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Abhinav. Good luck. Stay safe.
Thank you. And thank you, audience, for listening to us. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and also join as a member if you like. Hoping to see you soon. Thank you.